morning. Welcome. Doing another random code stream this morning. So decided to do this because I found a couple of issues with rocks last night. Actually, I was talking to my friend Rocky about this because he was looking at using it for some tests in CSLA, and we were chatting, and I discovered a couple things that I'm like, yeah, these need to be addressed or fixed. So figured I'm going to do that, then work out, have some lunch, then take a shower, play some Hollow Knight, and then head off to Rocky's house because we're going to go see Dream Theater tonight. So I got my music going. So let's see how far we can get on these. So I'll talk about these two and then I'll start working on them. So the first one is this. So rock context, when you use it in rocks, it allows you to create a whole bunch of expectation instances, set expectations on them. But the thing is that it implements iDisposable, and in dispose, what it will do is call verify. Now, what it will also do is, how do I want to say this? In verify, it checks to see, did it throw an exception? But as you're going to see in the other bug, in conjunction with that, hey Thoka, in conjunction with that, it wasn't throwing an exception when it should have. And so what was happening is verify was called, it was saying the exception wasn't called at all. So you're getting an exception, you're still getting red for, which is expected, but the wrong kind of red, the wrong kind of error. So then I told Rocky to disable verifications on the rock context, and then the test was passing all the time because of the other error. So there's two things that are going on here. The first one is in rock context, what I want to do is look through all of the created exceptions, expectations, I should say, and say if none have thrown this, in other words, so if you haven't had any expectations, through an exception, then go through and start calling verify. And I did have down here and say maybe what I could do is capture up all the verifications and throw them with all the information at once, but I said, nah. I think I'm not going to do that. I think I'm just going to say the first verify that you run into that fails, it fails. But then this should be a verification exception. So the point is this gets rid of this extra, I should have this up here. I do rock context. This extra constructor, or this constructor that takes a, actually let me zoom in a little bit here and make it easier to see. And I have my camera in the wrong position. Camera goes down at the bottom here. Here we go. So get rid of this because it shouldn't matter. We shouldn't be doing this, and we should just be calling this. So yeah, that's the first thing I'm going to fix. It's not a bug. It's just unnecessary. I overthought it. And since I'm going to have a 10.0 version, I can do breaking changes, and that's where this is going to go. The other one's a little bit more gnarly. And actually, what's sad is that this has never been detected by anybody. So here's the thing. If I have a property, getter and setter, and I say I expect this to be set to 3, but I set it to 4, I would expect to get an expectation exception, but what I'm getting is a verification exception. And the reason why is because the generated code, what I'm doing is a for each on all the expectation handlers. And then I say for each one, is it valid? And if it is, what I should be doing is this code and then this code. But for some reason, this block of code is in the if block here. And so what happens is if you set like one expectation and it isn't valid, it falls out to here, it falls out to here, and then it returns, and nothing happens. And then when you use rock context and it falls through dispose to verify, you'll say a verification exception because this hasn't been called. So that's confusing. So that's why these two bugs, these two issues came up last night. So I think the way to fix this is that if found match or not found match, that should be moved outside of the for each. Okay, and then if you do find a valid one, you do this work, you break out, you would have set found match to true, and then this doesn't get called. So those are the two things I'm going to fix. I'm going to do this one first. So, and we're going to do these all on this 10.0 branch that I currently have open. So do we have any? No, we don't. Okay, and I should, my God, this to be a lot of generated code. This is in here. Yeah, is it? Yes. So we should have tasks for rock context tests. And so what I want is something to say, if I have a an expectation that through an exception, it says it through an exception, then I shouldn't call verify. And if I didn't, then if I didn't have any, I should call verify. If I did, then I shouldn't have verify called. Okay, that makes sense. And why is my test code so? Why is this? Oh, yeah, it's because it's returning something, and C# wants you to capture that you're not using anything with the return, which I don't care about. Okay, so we want to say we want to have a test here that says we expect verify not to be called if an exception has been thrown. Okay, so what we want to do is say using var context is equal to new rock context. Yes, I know. We're going to get there. This will be interesting. Because the other thing to do this is I got to change something. This was exception thrown and was instance invoked. It has to be changed such that these are public, but the setters are protected. Like that. Now what I want to do is say var expectation is equal to my expectations. Except I want to set. No, I can't do that because it's got to be done through rock context because it needs to track it. So we want to say var expectation is equal to yes. But what we want to do here now is say we want to have a public void set was, what is it called? Exception thrown. Bool value. This dot was exception thrown is equal to value. So now here what we're going to do is say expectation set True. So we're saying that we threw one. Okay. Now what should happen is when we do this, and verify is called, nothing should happen. Because verify won't be called. So, I'm going to do this. And then we're going to say assert that context has... Oh, no. We want to... Okay, sorry. We want to do this. Expectations. Expectation. And then we will set like that. And then we're going to say assert that expectations has been verified is false. That's what we're expecting, is that, and I think this is actually going to work because currently, oh yeah, we just assume this disable is what is causing this. So we're not going to disable it here. So let's see. Again, I need to have a test made so that I can... Yeah, so what's happening here is it's true. And this is what we want to prevent. Okay. So the way to prevent it is we're going to get rid of a couple things. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to get rid of this. That. We can also get rid of disable verification because we don't need it anymore. And then here is where I'm going to take the code that I think is the way to fix this. Now, what it should do is it's going to say exception was thrown. And so it shouldn't call verify now. Yes, now there's a couple of tests that no longer matter. And now it passes. Okay, and so now if we go to all my raw context tests, they all pass. Okay, so this actually very quickly solves the first issue. Of course, I'm going to run through all my tests like I normally do. But I kind of like this because this makes it very simple and it makes it such that things work the way you expect them to, which is I get this, I create an expectation. And then on dispose, I only call verify if none of the expectations threw an exception. If one of them did, then that means that through the finally block, we just don't do anything, and then the exception that's waiting to be thrown is going to trickle out, and then we're good to go from that point. So, all right, so let's shut down and start up again and spend about 5 minutes running some tests. But that's okay. Because we need to, I hope you can see I've got, I'm going to move my mic here. I've got my Peanuts Rush shirt on. Wait a minute. So this was actually given to my friend, given by my friend Rocky, and we're going to see Dream Theater tonight. So I figured I'm going to wear that Rush shirt that he gave me. Of course, it's not official merchandise, but it's fun. He knows how much of a Rush fan I am, and he didn't know how much I grew up loving Peanuts. And so it was this very nice meld of two things that I've liked in my life. So I thought that was cute. It's a pretty ratty shirt though. The print on it is already wearing out in spots, but that's okay. I don't expect it to last very long. All right. Let's run all our tests and make sure nothing broke in places I did not expect it to. See, that's what happens. Okay, what's actually going on here? Something else, whoops. Oh, I have tests here for this, okay. Oh, we don't care about this. Well, this should, let's think about this. Causes verification exception and context is disabled. This is no longer true. We don't pass this in. But what this should do is throws type of verification. And I think already, yeah. So we can take that off because I already have a test for that. I can just remove this test now. And the same thing here. And then I get rid of this test. Okay, now does everything build? Oh, there's two more down here. Now everything should build. Yes. Okay, let's run all the tests now. I have to admit, yesterday when I was playing Silk Song, that was the first time I got a little frustrated. It's because I was in an area that had to do a lot of pogoing, and I was not happy with how I was doing it. So, yeah. But then I went to a whole bunch of different areas, and things got better. So, I think I need to fight a boss today, and I don't know if I'm ready for it, but I don't know if there's anywhere else I can go. So I think I've got no choice but to fight it. All right, none failed. That's good. Let's run our big app. Make sure that's going. I don't understand why this takes forever to start sometimes. I think you should go into test with types. And it says type alias mapping, but why does it take so long to get from like creating a stopwatch to here? It shouldn't. So it's like, it's fine. It's fine. It's kind of a performance test. I wonder if I should move that into my performance project. So hopefully this comes back, and it should come back with no issues, but it's standard, it's SOP, standard operating procedure, that I run this, even though I didn't change any code generation stuff. So actually, while this is going, I'm going to just run upstairs and get some coffee, so I'll be right back. If you're watching, don't go anywhere. And if you haven't subscribed just yet, see, I need more coffee. If you haven't subscribed just yet, please do so for just high-quality speech like I'm doing right now. I'll be back in a bit. All right, back. Filled up on coffee. I've said this before. I need to find all the rules, if there are rules, around what you need to do if you implement a member on a interface, or if you override or implement an abstract method on a class. Because I've said this before, a lot of what I do with rocks is just discovery accidentally. Like this app that I'm running right now just goes against a whole bunch of assemblies and packages that I found and says, all right, try to generate the mock stuff from them. It doesn't run it, but it tries to see, can it create valid code? And this, don't get me wrong, this has been very helpful in finding out things that people do that I have never even considered. But this is also just a slightly fragile, because I'm relying upon an assembly to do something, and then if they change that in a future one, I may miss that. But if I find an error, then I also make tests separate so that I always can reproduce and make sure that a bug has been fixed or something like that. But it would be nice to have like very rule based on what the compiler does and expects, and be able to test for that. So sometimes I become reactionary rather than proactive, but I don't know how to figure any of that out. Alright, all's good. So I think we got this one fixed. Oh wait, I should put in the change log, because this is going to be a breaking change. Disable error. Yeah, see, I added this, and now I'm going to remove it. And then let's get the issue in right. This is 393. All right, now we can commit. All right. I'll use some git merging. So we're in here. We want to move to this. Oh, come on. Check out. We want to now merge this into .NET 10. This. Push. All right. So we push that. Now we can get rid of this branch. This branch. Come here and say, oh, so that one was pretty easy. This one is going to be, I think, easy, but it's going to require me to change a whole bunch of generated code, because unfortunately setters, the logic will change in them, and that's always a fun thing to go around and fix. And by fun, I mean not so much at all. So I think the fix should be easy, because all I'm going to do is say this code here needs to move outside of the for each block, and be here. Okay. I also need a test for this. So I need to make sure that I test this correctly. And actually what I can do is let's get a branch set up first before we forget anything. Why is there a period here? Oh, it's just wrong. All right, we're going to say get new branch off of yep, that's correct. All right, so now let's make an integration test because that's really what's going to, and I can do it on property tests here. Okay, because what I can say here is when expectation is not met. Okay, so now I'm going to say here, create set. I'm going to say setters, set data. I'm going to pass in 3. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say on the mock, set data is going to be equal to 4. Okay, and so what I would expect out of all of this is that if I say assert that, okay, and then we're going to put a block around this, throws type of, and what we would expect here is that this should throw an expectation exception. This. And now this is going to bark because it's going to say expression body member. That's fine. Why don't you bring this all back over here? Come on. Okay, so that's what we would expect. What's actually happening is that I believe this is throwing nothing. Well, no. Yeah, this is throwing nothing because of the way the code's currently written. All right, and let's see. Assert that expected, but it gets a verification exception. That's right, because it is not throwing this. It's not throwing this exception because of the way the code is written, the generated code. And so now raw context kicks in. It says, well, you never threw an exception, so now I'm going to call verify. Verify says, well, this expectation was never set, was never met. And so what ends up happening is you throw the wrong exception. So that's not good, and that's where we need to change our code. Okay. So now we need to dig deeper into I don't know. Is it mock property builder? Okay, so here we're building the setter. And I think, if I look at this code right, what I want to do we want to raise events. This code generates code. Yes, this is a source generator in C#. So you can't change code, but you can create new code. So First generators have been around in C# since C# 9. So it's like 4 years ago it was added. Okay, so we want to kind of stop it here and then say do raise events. If we need to do it, then we do the indentation. So actually what I want to do is kind of do some code above this because this ends up becoming delicate surgery. Okay, so we do that. Now we're going to say if raise events, so it would be 4. So now we say if raise events, we indent 4, not 5. Okay. And then we want to put a break. So we want to take this here. So that will do that. This is the if. And now we need one for 4 here. But now this... Wait, I'm doing this in the... God damn it, I'm doing it in the... Sorry, language. Oh, man. Okay, so we got that. We want to take this. And we want to put it after this. Because this is where we want to do the check for the no handlers matched. Wait, where? I'm getting so confused here. Okay, let's put a whole bunch of space here because I want to know that that's where I'm doing the new stuff. So let's take this. Okay. And we're going to put it right here. And this is going to move into... Right, it's indented 1, 2, 3, 4. So this would indent 4 there. 1, 2, 3, 4. That indents, right? So that does that. That does that. Okay. So now here, this is where we want to put in the code to say... if we didn't find the match. So we're going to want to break this up a little bit more. Because here's where we want to say, if we didn't find a match inside of the for loop. This gets backed up a little bit. Okay. And then here, we're going to need that. And then we're going to continue on from there. Except we need to close that off, whatever that's going to be. Because now what we need to do is put this in there. And yes, this would be actually, it would be 3 indent now, not. Yeah, because these are 2, so that would be 3 now. So, if you can read this code, because I'm surprised I can. If we find this, Then we say we look for a match, and then we go through our handlers. If we found a match, we increase the call count, say we found it, call the callback if it was there, raise events, and then we break. That should break out of the for each. And now we say, we go out through all of them. If we did not find a match, we're going to generate the exception code. We come down to here, close that off. This closes this off, and then we get to the else. So now we're at this point. All of this now is captured. There. I think that should now do the right thing. I think. I don't know if this test is going to pick this up, though. Like, if I say run this, it may not regenerate the code just yet. It did. Nice. Let's run all the integration tests first. I love it that the integration tests are just super fast. It's the unit tests that take a while because I'm generating all the code. I would imagine now that if I go down to analysis tests, this is where we're going to see like 100 or 200 tests fail, just simply because all of the code gets moved around and then I've got to change things around. So that would be expected. They're running the integration tests are what's going to cause a whole bunch of failures. But again, it's literally because code has been moved around. So by the way, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers, so any new subscription helps. And if you have subscribed, thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. Come on. Take your sweet time. Only 27 failed. That's actually interesting. I guess it's because they have to actually generate a property setter. So let's take a look at one of these. This is saying, yeah, you can see this is where all the code's getting moved around. Now, just as a thing to look at, how easy or hard is this going to be to change by hand? I think what I would want is this gets pulled out. And then these get moved over. Now this might have to be done in some other spots, so let's just see. And this is also where spacing gets to be really a pain in the butt. It shouldn't affect the mock, or the make, I should say. So what broke this time? This is sometimes where, yeah, what did you expect? There's an extra line there. Ugh. Why? I don't want an extra line there. Why do you, wait. Why do you think? So on the if found match, or is this just the amount of space that, oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, this gets very twitchy. It literally wants nothing there. It still doesn't work. What's the problem? It's right on if found match, right? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, you're saying here. No. Where is this extra space coming from? It shouldn't. Let's close this out. I don't want to be fighting white space. What is the problem here? It does not put this kind of line in. It puts this kind of line in. Why? What do I do here? So you're saying what I have to do is literally put... Where does this start? Well, I don't know. Sorry, I got distracted by a message. I'm literally just going to put this line in there. I don't know what else to do. What the heck? See, I want to figure this out because otherwise I'm going to have to change. Well, actually, you know what? It said there's only 27 tests that are failing. And so sometimes, even though this is a little cheesy, it's easier to just do this and say, come on, why are you not? There you go. And then let's... Oh, did you... Okay. So then we'll grab all this. And then we'll come down to create generated code. And then we'll say... Take that. Just go through all this. Replace that. And now say, nope, not run it, because you gotta get rid of that. Now run it. And it passes. Okay, so what is the problem here? Oh, it put an indentation all the way over that to the set. See, it did it there too. So I guess, and then here it goes up to that. So, and it really doesn't matter a lot. I guess it sort of does and it doesn't. But this is what we want. We should go through all the handlers. If we don't find a match, we throw the exception. So let's go look at another test. And let's see if we can fix it. So here's the set. So what we want to do is we want to pull this out. These all go up here. We pull this over. And now we want this to go up to the set line, I believe. Yep. Okay, so now I can fix this a lot quicker. So that's good. Okay. Do I have this up twice? Yeah, I do. So I think this is actually fixed. Let's the thing is though, I need to actually fix all the tests. But I think this is now addressed. The thing is, this is done in we have a build getter, build setter. So this should also happen for an init. You can't have initters. I'm sorry, for indexers. That's the thing. I don't think you can have it's a mock property builder, mock index builder. I don't think you can have. Oh, you can. But an indexer takes parameters. And this was only happening because we were running into, well, the case that only one would happen. I believe if we look at an indexer, let's take a look at one of those tests. Indexer generator test. Okay, I do have it with a get and set. Okay. So let's check this out. Equals hash code toString. Okay, so this basically says if you get to this point, that means you're going to throw an exception because you did not find a handler. That makes sense. If this was invoked and there were no handlers set, because this is an interface, we throw an exception. Okay, that makes sense. So on the set here, we do the same thing. We just return, we bail out. It returns void, but we bail out. And so we do the same thing here. So the indexers are fine. We don't have to fix those. And yeah, okay, so that's good. So we just had to fix the property setter. That's it. Okay, so we should see now 25 tests. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is just spend time off camera fixing the rest of these tests, because that's boring to watch, to be honest. But let's at least commit property setter logic is fixed. Just need to fix unit tests. Okay. And then I'm going to quickly change the change log because we now have a fixed here, and fixed property setter fixed generated code for property setter expectation logic. And then this will be issue what? 392. Okay. And this is already changed to being 10 alpha 1. Okay, cool. So I'm going to do that off camera because that's kind of boring to watch. But yeah, at least now I feel like this has been fixed as well. So this is actually, if people are watching now or in the future, this is actually something, if you're a developer, this is the struggle I have as an author of this library, is I just don't have enough people using it. And I feel like the more people that use it, they're going to start to find these like real world usage issues. And this is why I want to actually use this more at where I work too, because otherwise I'm just never going to find these as quickly. And I don't want, a concern I have is I don't want to somehow inadvertently build designs around things that I've created that are technically bugs or issues. That would be bad. So if you are a .NET developer and you do some mocking here, there, and everywhere, maybe take a look at rocks and see how it works for you. The other thing is, I did a video on 10 years of rocks, and I actually kind of show some things that are done, that can be done in rocks that you can't do in MOQ and in Substitute. So that's another thing to take a look at there. But in any event, I'll fix these tests off camera. So I am done for now. I want to thank everybody who's watching, either now or in the future. If you haven't subscribed to the channel just yet, please do so. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you are already subscribed, thank you in advance for doing that. I appreciate you. I will be doing probably a stream this afternoon after lunchtime here with Hollow Knight Silksong. Do some more exploring and fighting and see how much more deeper in the story I can get. And then tomorrow I might do a Hollow Knight stream in the morning as well. Okay, but this weekend I am out of office, so to speak. So yeah, we'll pick it up Sunday afternoon if all goes well. But with that, I'm going to stop the stream. So thank you all for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you in the future.